Welcome back. Welcome to Totally Unbiased. Today with me, it's Aiden. You know what it is. We're back again with another episode of Totally Overreacting. Um, Me and Aiden are gonna go over these games for you. Since Andrew's not here, I'm gonna give you our socials. You can follow our socials on Twitter at YT_unbiased and at Totally Unbiased on Instagram and TikTok. Uh, let's jump right into it. So, an exciting slate of games this week, Aiden. What do you think?
Yeah, this week was pretty interesting. Started off with this pretty boring Rams Seahawks game, to be honest. Russell Wilson got hurt pretty early. It was very unfortunate. Um, you know, uh, it was a pretty bad break. I think he's supposed to be out for about 6 weeks, and Geno Smith stepped in his place, played a great game. What do you think?
Yeah, I thought Geno actually looks pretty good. And frankly, if Russell Wilson was still the quarterback in that game, I don't think they would have scored again. Not saying that Russell Wilson's worse than Geno. It's not even close. Russell Wilson's the top, quarterback in the league. But I think a part of the issue with the Seahawks so far this year is they are a team that relies on big plays, and they've done it for a few years now. However, this Seahawks team looks afraid to turn over the ball. Russell Wilson doesn't take shots. He's not taking any risks, or he wasn't. Now he can't because his finger is messed up. Um, their receivers are having career starts to their years. DK Metcalf flashed again, 5 catches, 98 yards, 2 scores, and Lockett looked good. There was a lot left on the board. Russell Wilson left a few big deep balls to, you know, Lockett. There was a one called back by a penalty, and you had two deep balls. Russell Wilson, he overthrew one, underthrew the other. A lot left on the board for Lockett. The wide receiver play has been fantastic, but the quarterback play has been poor. So the Rams they took this one. As I'm sure you all know, 26-17. Stafford looked all right. Cooper Kupp looked all right. This is really Robert Woods' game. He had 12 catches for 150 yards. Yeah, I mean, I'm a little concerned about the future of the Seahawks because their present right now is not good already. They gave up a lot for Jamal Adams on a defense that's ranked dead last, so I'm pretty concerned.
Yeah, the package that they gave up for Jamal Adams, especially now, it's really seeming like a lot. He hasn't really provided them what they were hoping for, and he hasn't really been bad. But the main problem is they're just not using him the way he should be used. He's more of a box safety, and they just rely on him in coverage too much, and that's a big problem. So, Jamal, that's a lot of assets wasted on him, in my opinion. But anyway, got through that game. Another pretty interesting game. It's a lot closer than we thought. Packers Bengals. Tell me what you thought about it.
Yeah, the Packers Bengals game was a good one. I think this game is actually a praise to the Bengals and a little bit of concern for the Packers. Both teams had their chance to win this game. Bengals should have won this game. This was their game. Uh, but unfortunately, they were unable to capitalize on mistakes. McPherson misses 2 field goals. Crosby misses 3, and somehow Crosby still gets the game-winning field goal attempt, and he kicks it. Rodgers was a little uneven. Aaron Jones was okay. Devontae Adams was the big star of the game. 11 catches, 206 yards, and a touchdown. The first 200-yard receiver so far this season. First time in his career over 200 yards. The Bengals defense, I honestly think, is the real deal. I'm surprised. I genuinely am. I didn't think this team had any good defensive players that were going to make a huge impact this year. And it seems like Zach Taylor and his crew are actually finally getting it together. I thought Zach Taylor was a shoo-in for first coach fired this season.
Yeah, this defense looks really promising, and they kept it close with one of the highest powered offenses in the league. It was disappointing ultimately because the Packers gave them opportunity after opportunity to win the game, and they didn't. But it was a good shootout. Bengals have a lot of promise this season, and I'm excited to see what they can bring us from now on. On to the next game. Didn't go the way we expected. Steelers versus Broncos. I thought that the Broncos were going to win this game in a pretty comfortable fashion, and the Steelers, Ben specifically, looked very comfortable. So, tell me your thoughts on this one.
Yeah, Ben got knocked around a little bit, but the Steelers won this game at home. The defense looked good. They got turnovers. Teddy missed some throws. I mean, frankly, Teddy makes 2 better throws in this game. I actually think the Steelers would lose by 3. There was a pass late in the game to Kendall Hinton. I don't know if you don't. I'm sure you remember that name. He was the guy who played quarterback for one game last year out of nowhere. Kendall Hinton had a really nice catch, but Teddy, if Teddy hits him in stride, he plants his foot and he scores. Teddy made a bad throw, a high throw. Hinton made a great play. I mean, toe tap, the whole nine. He did a great job. However, not a good throw from Teddy, and unfortunately, he didn't score. He didn't score, and they didn't end up scoring a touchdown. Najee Harris had 142 total yards and a touchdown, 122 on the ground, 20 through the air. Chase Claypool shined after Juju Smith-Schuster's exit, 5 catches for 130 and a score. Juju is going to miss the rest of the season. You know, it stinks. It really stinks. James Washington should have a bigger role. I never thought they should have brought Juju back in the first place. His time in Pittsburgh is done. I guarantee it.
Yeah, that was really disappointing. Juju hasn't quite gotten it going this year. Very slow start to the season and a very unfortunate way to end it. Now the remaining question is he going to remain in Pittsburgh at the end of the season? Who knows where he ends up going? But that game ultimately a disappointment. We thought more would come from the Broncos, and they really didn't provide. But on to the next game. Eagles ended up beating the Panthers. This one came out of left field. The Panthers had so much momentum coming into this game. Philly, they have a good offense, but there's doubts cast on them every week because of their coaching staff and their inability to make the correct decisions. But they came out with the win, and it was honestly pretty impressive for them. What did you see in this game?
Yeah, so what I saw in this game was a couple things. One, I saw that Sam Darnold still has a little jet in him, and in this game he showed a big jet. This was terrible. I mean, Sam Darnold threw this game away, literally threw it away. 3 interceptions from Sam Darnold. Absolutely terrible. And, a lot of people are saying, oh, Jalen Hurts has got the stuff. Here's the thing. I don't know if he's got what it takes to be a franchise quarterback, but he came alive in the fourth quarter again. You know, Generally speaking, Jalen Hurts had like 84 passing yards and just a few rushing yards on the ground coming into the fourth quarter. And he ends with this great slate of 2 rushing touchdowns and a whole lot of passing yards. He came alive in the fourth quarter, but unfortunately, he's not coming alive in these games earlier. And the Eagles could be playing better ball when he does. If you look at the last 3 games against the Chiefs, the Cowboys, and now the Panthers, it all really depended on when Hurts came alive. They came back late in the Chiefs game. They came back late in the Cowboy game, even though it was a dead game. And in this game, he came back. He came alive just a little earlier, and and his defense kept him in the game enough for it to be enough to win the game. Little concerning, really, for them. The Panthers, on the other hand, the defense still looks good as ever. Sam Darnold just put him in an awful spot. But, that really wraps up our, early games. Just to go over the scores of the early games that we talked about, or that we didn't talk about. Falcons 27, Jets 20 from London. Zach Wilson looks pedestrian again. Vikings 19, Lions 17. Not the blowout anyone expected. Alexander Madison shined, but another heartbreaking Lions loss on a walk-off field goal. I feel so bad for their fans. Saints 33, Washington 27. This game wasn't as close as it seemed in the end. The Washington kind of had a late score. The Saints really put the gas on. Alvin Kamara looked good. Jameis looked pretty good. Taysom Hill carted off with concussion or a head injury. Patriots 25, Texans 22. Bill Belichick was getting diced up by a rookie quarterback, and then he did the Belichick thing. He shut them down. They scored no more points, and he won the game. Bucks 45, Dolphins 17. Man, those Bucs receivers ate in this game. Antonio Brown, 2 touchdowns. Mike Evans, 2 touchdowns. I believe Godwin scored as well. The Buccaneers they let him hang around at first. It was like 10-7 Dolphins. And then, well, you heard the final score. You know what happened there. But that really wraps up our 1 o'clock. Oh, well, I almost forgot the Titans and the Jaguars. Titans 37, Jaguars 19. Titans had a late score in this game to make it look further than it actually was. Believe it or not, the Jaguars are kind of inching close in score because the Jaguars had a touchdown called back. Lawrence was short. They didn't end up making it into the end zone when it could have been 25-30, and it would have been a really close game. But it didn't end up being that way. But that was it for our 1 o'clock window. Aiden, dive us into these later games.
Yeah, so these later games were very interesting. The main one that caught my attention, and I think it was the game of the week, was the Chargers against the Browns.
I think I might have lost you there, Aiden. I think we might have lost Aiden. We're going to try to get him back. I'm sure he'll be back soon. Chargers 42, Chargers 47, Browns 42. Oh, there Aiden's back. Aiden's back. There he is. We almost lost him there.
My bad. Yeah. Yeah. So Chargers 47, Browns 42. That game was really exciting. Justin Herbert threw for over 400 yards, 5 total touchdowns. And Mike Williams, after a disappointing week last week, had 8 receptions for 165 and 2 touchdowns. That offense is the real deal. And I think this week the Chargers solidified themselves as a top 5 team in the NFL. And they're only going to rise. I think they are probably even a top 3 team. But there's more weeks for them to prove that. They looked great on every facet of offense. Eckler had 120 scrimmage yards as well as 3 touchdowns. I love this team. The defense is great. The offense is great. And they ended up beating a Browns defense that is one of the best in the league. So give me your take on this game.
Yeah, so something to mention of note, this was a weird game for both defenses. These we thought this was gonna be a low scoring game. Two defenses who have been lights out lately. Both of them played poorly, and unfortunately for Baker Mayfield and the Browns, they become one of the first teams ever to score 40 points and have absolutely not a single turnover and lose. That's just rare. Something I want to note in this game, and we talk about, everyone's looking at the score like, oh, the Browns offense, they're back, but it didn't involve somebody key. Odell Beckham Jr., 2 catches for 20 yards. That's it. David Njoku led the way. And that guy was almost cast out of town last year. The Browns clearly, that trade for Odell is not looking great for them. I mean, on the other side, that's a trade that right now is you know what I mean. Both sides, it kind of is what it is. The Browns definitely are taking the blunt of this, though. I mean, the brunt of this blow, because you got to figure they gave whatever they gave up. They gave up a first and Peppers and a third, right? Well, they could have done something with that, and instead they're paying a wide receiver $15 million to stunt the growth of this offense. And when he doesn't play, or when he's not playing well, they do better somehow. It's a little weird, but if you guys watch us and you watch some of the stuff we put out, you guys all know that I've been calling Chargers to win the AFC all year. I had them AFC West champions, and it kind of seemed a little far-fetched even when I said it at first. Now it looks real. And little spoiler alert, on Wednesday we will have an episode of Fan Fight. We're going to have a Chargers fan on, but I tell you, he's one of the more objective fans. We'll see. But yeah, that was really the end of this game, Aiden. The afternoon games weren't too exciting, I think, the 4 o'clock thing. But there's one game that me and you definitely need to talk about in the 4 o'clock period.
Yeah, the Cardinals versus the 49ers was that game was something else. The Cardinals, Kyler Murray specifically, has been getting all of this hype and attention for being the MVP, and their offense, it took them a while to get going. Murray specifically struggled throughout this entire game, and their offense is just so good. The team is just so good all around. They ended up keeping in it with the 49ers and this rookie quarterback Trey Lance, and they came out with the win. So it wasn't an impressive win by any means. Kyler did just enough to barely get them the win, but at least Hopkins finally did something on the fantasy side for once, because it's been a couple weeks for Hopkins, and he showed up late with a touchdown. He looked good, but not really too impressive of a game all around. And then just a couple of the games we want to skim through. The Bears versus the Raiders. Bears won by a score of 20-9. That game wasn't really anything too incredible. I think the Bears offense was actually decent. They did enough for Justin Fields to get comfortable and get the ball moving. And the Raiders really showed us that they got too much hype to start the year, and they're going to need to get things going on all facets of the ball, offense, defense, in order to be winning these games. Because even if their offense looks good, their defense will cost them a win. And even when their defense shows up, it seems like their offense suddenly decides to bust. So very questionable team right now. But another game, Cowboys 44, Giants 20. There's not really too much to cover except for injuries. Kenny Golladay hyperextended his knee. He's expected to be out for the next week or two. Saquon Barkley had a low ankle sprain. He's expected to be out for the next 2 to 4 weeks. And Daniel Jones, with that pretty rough concussion, he was stumbling to the sideline. He's probably going to be out next week. So, a lot of injuries for the Giants. Cowboys were able to run away with that one. Now, onto the game that I really, really liked next to the Chargers game and this one was Bills 38, Chiefs 20. The Bills offense looked incredible. Nick, tell me what you think of this one.
Man, Josh Allen, 315, 4 scores, one on the ground, three in the air. I mean, he's unbelievable. Chiefs defense, man, this defense stinks. This is not a Spagnola defense. This looks terrible. Like they can't stop a nosebleed. They had Chris Jones lose all this weight and maybe he's gonna play outside. Well, he thinks it outside. Now he's hurt and he can't play inside because he's too small. So what did you do there? I mean, bad, bad, bad. That defense is no good. Mahomes is struggling on offense. Now you listen. As much flack as I'm giving the Chiefs, give the Bills the credit. The Buffalo Bills are a great team. They have a great offense, and that defense is a top 2, top 3 unit. They are. That defense is great. And they just shut down Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid, Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce. They shut him down. Byron Pringle was the biggest producer who made really the biggest impact for the Chiefs on offense besides Mahomes. That's when you know you've done a great job. And the last thing I really want to point out real quick is Stephon Diggs' regression. I mean, people were booking him as a top 5, top 3 receiver last year, and now he doesn't even look like he's top 10, top 15, top 20. I mean, I've seen more from Kadarius Toney and Devonta Smith in their 4 games so far, and Tony's only played 2, than I've seen in Stephon Diggs this season. Concerning. Very concerning there. But they're winning. That's the most important part. They're winning. So if you don't have to get him the ball and you can use him later in the season, scheme him up different things, do it. But as of right now, Stephon Diggs is not the same guy we saw last year.
Yeah. From a fantasy perspective, Stephon Diggs has been, honestly, in all perspectives, Diggs has been very concerning. But winning wise, it hasn't really affected the Bills too much. But any Stephon Diggs fantasy owners are crying themselves to sleep right now because he's been having a very tough start to the year, and he's been invisible in like every game. Last night we were hearing about Dawson Knox and Emmanuel Sanders before we were hearing about Stephon Diggs, and that's a big issue. And it's not like that. This is one circumstance of this issue. It's been happening all year. So definitely a circumstance that needs to be monitored. But we covered all the games, but there's one game that hasn't happened yet, starting very soon. Colts versus Ravens. I think that the Ravens are just going to run away with this one. Nick, what do you think?
I think this is Colts upset, and I'm going to tell you why. I don't know. That's the reason why. I don't know. I think maybe Carson Wentz finally shows up. I just got, you get this feeling. I had this weird feeling the Colts are winning this game. I don't know why. They looked great the last time they played. Well, they looked good the last time they great in air quotes the last time they played. If the Colts want a chance to play with this division, which, by the way, worst division in football. We used to think the NFC East was a joke. Go look at the AFC South standings. Look at it. The Texans are, I think, 2 games or a game out of first last week. I mean, come on. Yeah, I'm going to take the Colts. But that's really it for this show. Aiden, thanks for coming on with, as always, you know what we are. Me and we are here at Totally Unbiased. Totally Overreacting week 5. Tomorrow we're going to get you with the fantasy side. We're going to talk about everything over the weekend. If you have any players you would like us to talk about, please send us a DM, send us an email, comment on the video, like the vid, subscribe to the channel, the whole 9. And before we bounce away, I'm going to give you guys just a couple of key injury updates. Joe Mixon seemed to get out of the game unscathed. Russell Wilson is going to miss 6 to 8 weeks. Saquon Barkley, as Aiden mentioned, 2 to 4 weeks. Daniel Jones is in concussion protocol. Derek Carr was shaken up late in that game. He was down for a little while. He looked like he might be all right. Kenny Golladay is expected to miss time with a knee. Look, they avoided a very serious injury. Clyde Edwards-Helaire also avoided a major injury with his knee. It was an MCL sprain, nothing less, nothing more. And that's really it. Thank you guys for watching Totally Unbiased. And you know what it is. Like the vids, sub to the channel, and we'll see you next time.